We had a mariachi band walking around playing music. We had axe throwing. We'd just got in like an amazing selection of beer from all around the world. And it was just an incredible event, and we'd love to do more things like that. We like to do things. We've always planned to do things around Reading Festival time.
Blind Maggot Episode 1, featuring Phantom Brewing Co with Dane. Sponsored by Squeegee and
I was just explaining to Tom about what Blind Maggot is. So it's basically an offshoot of the Screenprint studio. It's kind of like every single person who's got a trade or a craft wants to go out on their own and make their own stuff. I think we learn our trade doing custom orders and building ourselves up as a business, but then eventually you kind of just want to do your own thing. Like, I don't know where you guys began. Did you work for other people initially and then start up your own thing? Or?
Well, we kind of just came from like a homebrewing background, but then picked up experience prior to opening. So, like, Dane worked in a couple of breweries down south, and we were just trying to mop up as much information before kind of doing our own thing. So it was a little bit.
Yeah. So you're creating, knowing damn well. A little bit. I think there's a lot of similarities though, because you can kind of set up in a garage doing
That's what we did.
can't you? And a lot of screen printers start up like that as well.
I still have all the homebrew stuff in my garage.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't get touched because I've got the big stuff.
Yeah. But I feel like there's like a surge of people like getting these like side hustles is what they're calling them, and feeling that they can make their own little businesses and do those kind of things. Do you think it's because the information's there now?
I think social media just makes it easy to start and run. Like, you guys have done amazing with your, like, I think last time I checked you had like 25,000 followers or something. Like, it's insane. Like, you guys have done so well with it, and it gives a platform, doesn't it, to go and kind of put yourself out there and know that you've got an audience. Whereas I think prior to that, it was way more daunting to do that, to kind of drum up interest. And it's a blessing and a curse, because it means the fact that it's so viable, it means that things can be a lot more competitive. But actually, from a consumer's point of view, it's not really a bad thing, and really, because there's so much choice.
It's really tricky. It's like the line between like collaboration with other businesses and then like competition. Like, in our industry, I used to think like the bigger studios were my competition, but now it's opened up so much. We actually all talk to each other like weekly on Clubhouses, and we're all giving each other all the information, because you might as well be free with it, because then we're all just growing together. There's always going to be an abundance of people who want to drink beer and wear t-shirts, so I feel like we're not like trying to drag each other down anymore. Yeah.
Well, I think brewing is a passion project, so it kind of links why more people are trying to get into it as well. I think as time moves on, more and more people end up just either wanting to work for themselves, or at least in a industry that they actually love. They're willing to kind of drop their pay to do something they really enjoy, rather than take a higher salary of something they hate. I mean, me and Dom both come from careers where we didn't really enjoy what we did, but they both paid reasonably well due to our education and our like going to university, doing degrees, and being able to get our foot in the door. And we both took a step down from that because we wanted to do something that actually we enjoyed. And so then it becomes a passion project, and then that works with the whole collaboration as well. Generally, you'd be hard shut to find a brewery where the people aren't passionate about beer. So you've always got this thing in common. We have that with all our staff as well. The one good thing you have is that everyone there likes beer. It's not like when you go into an office where everyone's just doing a job, they clock in, clock out, and you're trying to make conversation with people. Everyone that works for us loves beer. Everyone that works in other breweries loves beer. So you already have a big talking point.
Easy.
I found like you guys went straight in with like, you have this relationship with your illustrators, and that you're really promoting them. You're not just like hiding them away. Obviously, that artwork on the cans has become much more important recently, hasn't it? Like, you're all shouting for competition with all the other craft beers. that competition on the shelves wasn't there anymore, like a few years ago. But now it's like everyone's really up their game. But I feel like you guys have especially, you've done really well with your fridge is basically
Well, that
beautiful, isn't it?
I think a lot of that
Like,
we can't take too much credit because that a lot of
yeah,
that is down to the talented people who are actually making those amazing drawings and going through that design process. And it's not easy because we make a lot of beer, a lot of different beers throughout. In our first year, we did over 60 different brews, and they all needed design work and creative direction of what they're going to be called. And it's sometimes that's almost like the more difficult part of it, because the beer side, we're comfortable there, and Dane and I aren't particularly creative ourselves, so we're lucky we can lean on people who are really talented. And the guy who does most of our work, Tom Guts, is an old friend of mine from school, and we reconnected a couple of years ago when we were starting to look at launching the brewery, and he did the initial branding. And we've worked with him more and more because we've got a great working relationship, but also a really good personal relationship, where I think sometimes in the creative world, especially for guys like Dane and I who aren't necessarily from that world, it's not easy to say you don't like someone's ideas, or you need them to change something, or you're not happy with how it's looking. And it's sometimes you feel like you're kind of treading on eggshells. But with Tom, we've got that relationship where we have complete trust. We have a personal relationship, which makes it easy for us to say, "Oh no, we don't like that. We want it more like this." And he's really easy to work with, and I'm sure he would say the same. For us, it's why we've done so many designs with him in a short space of time, and we always kind of worrying, are the ideas going to dry up? But to date, we're still going strong. So
it's very, very.
It's a dynamic that really flows. Because sometimes we have a full brief, here's a name and a design, and he can go off that and he kind of comes back with exactly what we want. And sometimes we have a name and nothing, and we're like, do something and try and work with that, and he always comes up.
Like, how did he pitch? Did he do the baked beans one? No, that baked beans.
No, that was an old one. No, but he's done. I think he does probably like 90% of our art, and it's so difficult to kind of work with other people sometimes, because we are so kind of in sync with Tom, and how he kind of creates art, and how we communicate. And the communication piece is just so important, because, like I say, it's not even just whether we don't like something. It's then, as Dane said, sometimes we have an idea of a name and a concept, and the first part where that can really break down is if we're not communicating our concept clearly enough to him in a way that he understands, or that he's taking it on a different angle and comes back with something, and we go, well, wow, that is not what we were expecting from the concept. But we've just got such a clear chain of communication. It's really easy to to kind of go through that process.
Yeah, I think, like, looking at the artwork, it's going back to, I don't know how old you guys are, but some of them are like album art, aren't they? They're like inspired by like vinyls and like the music industry. So you're kind of like tweaking, and sometimes it is actually quite obvious sometimes. But yeah, I think it's like you're kind of tapping into the people who are drinking your beer and saying, like, what are they kind of like? Yeah, what's their kind of culture made up of? You're kind of just re-tapping into that. So they're making like subconscious mistake decisions when they're on the shelf trying to drink the beer, I suppose. Yeah, I think.
Which is lucky for us, because we're that market. We're almost doing it just for ourselves.
Yeah.
So when it's the songs and stuff to do with music, it's generally just stuff we like, but we are kind of our key demographic in many ways. The age we are, really into beer. And so then when we put it on a can, we hit what is a key demographic in the beer industry, and we try and make it as inclusive as possible. And that's why we change up the designs. They're not all music led, but a lot of them are, just because me and Dom just have very similar interests when it comes to that kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, what kind of events and things are you going to be like showcasing at? Is it just, are you quite limited this year, or are some of them opening up? Are you like doing anything with music?
It's one where we've always so we opened in November of 2019, and we started essentially with Dane and myself, obviously, owning and running things, and one full-time member of staff to run the taproom. Today we've obviously been through the whole COVID situation, and are we on 10 full time now, Dane? I think 10 full time staff.
Yeah, plus about
So we've
5 or 6 bar
grown a lot
staff.
in that time, and we've always wanted to go and do the beer festivals and pour at certain places, and we've just not really had that opportunity because of COVID as of yet. But we've, like I say, we've grown to the point where when we can and when things are opening up, we want to do as many as possible. And a big thing for us is events actually at the tap room as well. So we love an excuse just to put on a really wacky, fun, crazy event. So we've done really big events. We did one literally just before the whole COVID thing started, for the leap day. So we did like a leap year party, and we kind of just wanted it to be a bit out there. We had a mariachi band walking around playing music. We had axe throwing. We've just got in like an amazing selection of beer from all around the world. And it's just an incredible event, and we'd love to do more things like that. We like to do things. We've always planned to do things around Reading Festival time. So obviously, being from Reading and growing up and going to that festival all the time, and given where the brewery's located, we're right around the corner.
Yeah.
We really want to do something where we can
Yeah.
put music on, or different events like that. Really.
Yeah, and because you are like literally right there, and you can do it for the special occasion. You could do your own brew for the Reading Festival. I'm assuming. Is that, yeah? Would you do that? Because I've seen that you do these collaborations, and you it seems like a very specific brew for that collaboration. Would you do them for special events like Reading Festival, or would it age the beer a bit too much? I don't know how small you can do your batching. What do you think?
Well, I mean, we generally would do brews kind of with anyone. We always want to work with people. So Reading Festival is quite big for us, so I'm not sure how much they care about our kind of scale. But we do it from as little as we've got like a board game shop in Portsmouth who came down and did a brew with us. So it's just going to be their beer when people are playing games. It's a really cool little cafe they run it out of. So we do it from them. We've got a football team that are coming down to do a beer with us, a local football team in Reading. And we always try to cater for the actual like crowd who we're doing it. Want to see what angle they want to come up with. We brew beer most days of the week. We're always doing something to do with beer. We get to run all our ideas all year round, so it's always nice to see someone else's like kind of interpretation angle, why they want to come and do a beer with us. Is there anything specific? Do they not care about the beer as much as the design, or what kind of crowd they want to give it to? So then, what does that mean for the actual like beer style and everything like that? So that's why we like kind of
Can you
working with all
explain?
different kind of areas.
I saw that you did a collaboration with Seven Bone, and I thought that was brilliant because Seven Bone has like got the best branding ever, I think, because they're like constantly changing it up, aren't they? They must have been quite fun to work with.
Yeah, I think when we started working with Seven Bone, sometimes collaboration is for us. It's number one. It's like a good opportunity for us to learn. If we collaborate with other breweries, it's just a really good way for us to continue learning. And sometimes they can mention things or bring things up and that we hadn't thought of, and there's that side of it. But first and foremost, Dave mentioned earlier that we previously worked in jobs where we didn't necessarily enjoy them, and part of collaborating is the fun side of it. And working with someone like Seven Bone, we just clicked straight away, in that they were really easy to work with on ideas and what they wanted the beer to be like that they serve in their restaurants. And we really kind of liked their attitude to coming in, and they had an idea, but they were open minded because they came to us and sort of said, well, you guys are in the business of making beer, so feel free to steer how this goes. And it was just a real natural conversation that just led on to making the pale that we did for them. And they were super easy to work with, really fun, and the beer came out great as well. So I think they're really happy with it.
Yeah, I had some, and a Seven Bone at the same time. See, it's like Seven Bone, for example, are like following the kind of what society wants from like a restaurant chain. And are you finding that you're getting pushed towards, like, I don't even know what a table beer really is. Is it, in my head, it's like a table wine?
Mhm.
Is it like a kind of lower alcohol percentage beer? that's more like for sipping, and that's kind of idea I got. But is that right? Is that like
Yeah, that's totally correct. Yeah, table beer, some that's sessionable, lower ABV, something that you literally want on the table, and anyone around the table can pretty much drink it.
okay? So is that something that like you're getting paid to do? Are you getting asked for like, I don't know even if you can do vegan beer in your brewery, but is that something that you're getting asked to do? Because they're the only like big trends that I can see that are difficult.
I think pretty much you always hear from customers a whole range of things, and there's never really one overarching theme because everyone kind of has different tastes and trends. So we have a lot of people that want us to do more sours because they're really into them, but at the same time, when you look at the kind of sales, IPAs and pales
Definitely.
are what sell the most. So we kind of have to follow that trend and go, well, what do we need more of? Because that's how we keep our business going. I mean, generally, it isn't too much of what the customer is asking for because we think we're quite dialed in. So it is just kind of like a decision of what type of time of year it is, what do we think is going to go well, what do we think our customers want, and we kind of go into that. But if like sometimes we see things of just a general trend and we go, cool, maybe it's something we could give a go, but only if we think we can do it well. I really want to do a gluten-free beer because we do have quite a few people come down the brewery that can only go that way, but we haven't done that yet. And so that's the kind of thing that we will definitely be doing, but we want to make sure we can make a great one, not just one that can satisfy customers. Same as non-alcoholic as well. So you do have a few things that certain groups are, want.
Yeah, the gluten-free ones that I've had are just basically like 80% bubbles, and you can only have one because it's like I don't know too much about like how much carbonation or whatever is in them. So really, like if you were giving advice to another brewery setting up, and are you trying to think like just make the beer to please yourself, and then your audience will kind of find that? Is that like some advice that you'd give them?
I think first and foremost, it's identifying what you want to be producing. And when we started, like I said, we went through 60 beers in our first year, and it was quite coming into this industry and starting the brewery was quite a liberating experience from coming from working office jobs and having certain structures that we would work within, to be able to come in and go, well, what are we going to do this week? Well, what do we want to do? We can do whatever we want. And I think we kind of backed that judgment and just accepted that it was fine to if there were mistakes, it was fine. It's not life and death. Every business will make mistakes, especially new businesses, and it's probably not something you need to be so fearful of. Obviously, you don't want to make mistakes, but if you make mistakes, that's not a problem. I think as long as you're true to what you want to produce and the quality that you're willing to put your name on, that'll take you a long way. And then it's just about staying true to that, really.
Yeah, it's tricky because it's like as like screen printers, a lot of us have our own like t-shirt prints, for example. And it's like we all know how to print now. We've kind of got that. We've got the technique and the skill down. It's just like what we're trying to express. So it's like finding what our audience is going to be is the differential. And it's not actually making the shirts that's difficult. That's easy now. It's like, where do we want to sell them? And I think the best and the most exciting place to sell shirts is like on the markets and at the festivals. Because online it is very, like you kind of get used to the online sales, like that sound of the ding, and it's not exciting anymore. It's like it's taken all the fun out of it. Whereas I bloody love being on the markets and selling.
I think that's the same in beer as well. Yeah. Throughout the lockdowns, we basically had to completely pivot the business model to almost exclusively. Well, it was exclusively at times during the lockdowns, selling online, and it was really strange because it's. When we started the business, the taproom was just a huge part of that, and that sense of community and being able to create an experience of going somewhere to drink where actually it was basically our dream bar where we would like to go, and what music are we going to play, and what games are we going to have in there, and what sort of lighting and what kind of mood are we trying to set in there, and what beers are we going to pour in there, all those kind of things. And then to go to that online model is like feels very different from that situation. Um, and it's not really, we never really set out to do that, but obviously over the last year or so we've been forced into doing that. So just can't wait to get back to the point where we don't have restrictions, hopefully soon, touch wood. We don't have restrictions and people can come back and we can start building on that, because we really, that is one of the massive perks of starting a brewery is,
Yeah.
like I say, it's probably the same for you guys going into markets and seeing people face to face, interacting with the product that you've created and enjoying it and talking about it and having that kind of shared passion is kind of what drives you. And then when it gets taken away and things go online, it almost feels like you're distanced from that a little bit.
Yeah. So like for the last year, we haven't even seen our customers, and um, it's not sometimes they're not jobs that are you're like actually passionate to print, which sounds bad, but it's true. So it might just be like, I don't know, a plumbing company or something very generic. Everyone's got the same shirt. You're like, okay, let's just get the job done. So that's what we're trying to get away from personally. We're trying to push in all of our own work and then push out all the jobs that we don't enjoy. There's some that don't even like, you don't even want to do a little bit morally, but like, so things like throwaway t-shirts. I hate doing throwaway t-shirts. They wear them for one event, and then at the end of the event, you literally see them just like pile them into a box in the bin. And I hate that. So I've just, so as like a business like that, we've cut out all of the cheap shirts. We don't print on them anymore. But it's like that ability and confidence in yourself to be able to make those decisions. So I think it's a cycle that you have to go through where you say yes to everything, and then you kind of refine down your audience. And I think it's good. I think I'm really enjoying like being at work now because it's super creative again. You were talking about like building a community, and there are some breweries where you don't have tap rooms and stuff, so they're struggling, aren't they, to build those kind of like bonds with the customer and that kind of word of mouth. But so was having a tap room like incredibly important for you guys at the beginning? Like it was a deal breaker, or
It was literally, we were only looking at places we could put a tap room, because it's something we fell in love with. It's one of the reasons we fell in love with the beer scene anyway. We'd go traveling around the world and just walk into these breweries in industrial states or just down dark alleys, and just like when you walk in, just see this completely different setup than you were expecting from the outside. So we had that really clear vision from the start that was the main thing we wanted, like a really big open space that we could, like Dom said, have the games, have all the fun stuff we wanted to do in our own bar, and then be able to brew the beer there on site to feed that and brew the beers that kind of we want to drink. And then that just leads open. I mean, we've met so many new friends since we've opened the bar, just people that have come down to the brewery. We both love it there, so we try and drink there as much as possible ourselves, and that's what we wanted. We wanted to build a bar that we wanted to go, like our favorite place to go drink in, which we think we've done a pretty good job of because we go there a lot. But so we've met loads of people, and they've just now become really good friends, who we hang out outside of beer, outside of the brewery. And we didn't open to do that, and it's just that's the kind of community you are able to build. It's just people that come along, and you have this one vested interest, which is beer, and then they bring other friends, you bring other friends, and it just builds from there.
Yeah, exactly. And now you've got two spaces, because I kind of visiting. I can't remember what the occasion was. Maybe we were dropping something off, but now you've got the place next door as well, that other massive unit. So what, are you just filling that with more taproom space, or are you like more brewing
A bit of
equipment?
both, really. So we grew a lot quicker, even throughout the COVID time, really, than we had anticipated at the start when we initially moved in. So we initially moved into a 6,000 square foot warehouse and spent a number of weeks putting in a brewery floor with a drainage system, a massive cold store, the tap room itself, and all the games and what have you. And we had a unit next door to us that we'd always said, kind of with an eye on the future, wouldn't that be great if we could get to a position where we can move to there and expand into there? And it was just one of those things where, like I say, we were so much further along than we thought we would be, and the opportunity was there to take it based on the fact that other people were viewing that unit and could have taken it on a 5-year or a 10-year lease, which would have left us with no opportunity. And we just had to kind of seize the opportunity to do it. So we ended up doing that, which has enabled us to then expand production as well. So we've got currently 3 more tanks waiting to be plumbed in on that brew floor, and 2 double-sized tanks as well. Yeah.
5.
Yeah. And we put in a new bar with a slightly different vibe to it. So we've got 8 taps and a new bar on that side as well, and we're trying to sort of create a slightly different vibe, as I say, to what we've got in the Haunt. So we call that side neon, just because we love neon signs. So we've got a few neon signs in there. And yeah, it's kind of all round helping us to expand, really. So I think the production side, it then future proofs us for the foreseeable future, which is nice to have.
Yeah, perfect. Well, yeah, you can't ask for more than that. Like the anticipation of that growth, and then trying not to grow too quickly is probably quite scary. But yeah, if you're not crazy under pressure next door, then that's pretty brilliant, isn't it? So do you like hire out those bars, or are you just keeping them both open to the public at all times? Or
We generally are aiming to keep them both open to the public, just for anyone to come down and kind of choose your favourite side and drink in big groups. But we have a few certain events where people want to come down, and we've got a few weddings that people want to have a wedding in a brewery, which don't blame them. It's a great place to have it. Plus, then people that want to have big birthdays or business, birthdays of the business, and come down. So we try and facilitate as best we can. For people that want to come and share the space, because we think it's a really great space. So we want to share it with as many people as possible. And if that's through events, that's great for us, because actually they normally are going to have a customer base that don't know who we are.
Yeah.
And then they bring them to our space, and hopefully they like what they're seeing, they enjoy the beers, and then they actually come back and they bring other people as well.
How do you describe it to people? Like, because I've tried to describe how to get to your place, but I'm like, do you call yourself a Reading brewery, but do you kind of like give people walking directions to get there, because it isn't in an industrial estate? Or do you just say, just follow Meadow Road, because that's the easiest way, and also we've got a beer named after that when you
Yeah, I mean, typically we will if we're describing where we are, we're probably a 5 to 10 minute walk away from Reading train station. But anyone who knows Reading and can picture 2 6,000 square feet warehouses next to each other, they're not likely to be, but where all the restaurants and shops are in town. It's a little walk away, but it's dead easy to get there. Like I say, it's a 5-10 minute walk, and we always say our Google Maps will get you here, no problem.
Okay, good. Because I was like, okay, I'll just let them do Google Maps, because I've always just driven up and got the growler and run off again. Have you found that kind of trend as well, with the buying the beer to take home? Because that didn't seem to be around a few years ago as well. Is that something you're seeing a big influx of, people buying?
Yeah, so growlers they started really being mainstream in America. It's been a big thing over there for quite a while, and it's then drip fed over the years into England, where even a few years ago you'd see more people likely to turn up with a milk carton or really old looking growler, and now breweries starting to get their own ones, and bottle shops starting to get their own ones in of a much higher quality, which will actually make the beer last longer and taste better over an extended period of time. And it's an interesting one from us, because we're a customer facing business, as Don was saying. We want people to come to us. That's why we have the tap room, and the online sales. It's not as fun for us, but at the same time, we still have to value that a customer coming down who only has 2 minutes but choosing us to bring their growler, buying 2 liters of beer and then leaving, is really helpful to us as a business, as a brand, as someone who's coming in for an hour and drinking a couple of pints, or someone that's staying all day.
Yeah. also like during COVID, not being able to get any draft beer, but then like it kind of kept opening up and closing. But like In at Home, which is like a local, it's in Newbury, and they've got yours on like their kind of machine tap. I want to say like automatic tap, but they was definitely serving Phantom in there in those growlers. So that's pretty cool that you can just go downtown and get draft instead of having to seek out these places like Siren and yourselves and try and find the industrial estate again. But yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah. I was just trying to think, are you gonna go into any other kind of spirits or alcohols? Or are you just gonna stick to your beer for now? Have you got an eye on gin? Because everyone it seems
so we want to be experts at what we do, and so we have ideas of working with other experts. So I've been in discussion with a gin distillery before, and we're talking to a few people where we can go and collaborate with them and then create something for our house gin. It's not something we're gonna take on board ourselves just because I'm not an expert in it. I only have so many hours a day. I don't like to half-ass things. So if we were going to do it, I would then go, cool, well, now I need to learn everything about gin or need to do this. Whereas, if I can work with someone who has that expertise, we can then talk and I can go, well, my idea is this. And like I said, it'll be kind of our angle, but then them using their knowledge base to do it. So I think the beer is going to be kind of, where we do stick, but we're not just looking to collaborate with beer people, our local winery, they've started buying a lot of our beer. We buy a lot of their wine and sparkling wine and stuff. And so I have no doubt that at some point we're going to want to work with them. I really want to buy their barrels, their empty barrels, so we can put some beer. And sometimes a collaboration can even be just something as simple as that, just using one of their empty barrels, putting our beer in it and see what happens.
Right. Also, the barrels that they kind of like age the wine in to see what that does to the beer, or am I being silly? Are you talking about like just use them as display?
So barrel aged beer is a big. Barrel aged beer is a big style, and we would once they finish using their barrels, because sometimes they'll have barrels they might only use once. They might have 4 turns over, but they'll get to the end of their life where they think this barrel's not really offering us anything anymore.
Oh, okay.
So rather than them just throw that barrel away, we can put beer in it, and it, if it's a red wine barrel, we could put a sour beer in it, and then depending on what kind of grape's being used, we can have the flavouring that's been left on the wood to go with the beer, and it creates something very special. And it's just it creates a type of flavour that you couldn't just come up with by making the beer in a stainless steel tank.
So it's like a cooking pan that like flavours. Going a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah, basically.
That's really cool. I had no idea. I thought I was asking a stupid question, but I suppose there aren't any. Also, like, how do you see how you're using social media at the moment? Because I know that you've got your like Wednesday thing. What is it? Oh God, what is it when Hump Day? Yeah, you find that every single day. Whose idea is that? Or who?
That was my idea.
Do you do that? Do you actually?
That was my idea.
Find it every Wednesday?
I don't do it anymore. No, I said at first it'd be fun. We had 2 ones that we wanted to talk with, and me and Dom spoke about, and then we passed on to the people that normally do the social media. So it was Hump Day, and then I got that Friday feeling. The Friday one definitely fell off a cliff because I think they just forgot about it. But the Hump Day has stood the test of time.
Yeah, it gets me every single bloody Wednesday. I think Instagram knows that I see it, so it gets me. Yeah, it's really good.
We interject sometimes without ideas. So when it was Eurovision, we were just looking at pictures of Blue, the boy band, and we went, there you go, there's your Hump Day for next week.
But you don't want like the pressure of having to come up with a new one every week. That's cool.
No. It's nice to have the surprise when it's Wednesday and look at our stories.
How have you found like managing a team? I'm not sure if you had to do it in your like old jobs, but like building your own little company culture. What kind of things are you trying to like put in there as like a little safety net so that your people don't feel like you did in the big companies?
Yeah, it's definitely both rewarding and challenging, and I think we both have very similar ideas on how we like to manage people, and I use that term very loosely because we like our staff to be confident and efficient at working and motivating themselves. And we like to think the reason we hire people is because they're good at what they do, and sometimes it's best to let them do what they do. But as we've grown, there is a side to it which is more challenging, in that Dane and I have naturally kind of gone off onto separate sides of the business, if you like, in that Dane's more on the production side now and oversees that, whereas I oversee the commercial side, and we kind of meet somewhere in the middle, at the branding and marketing side of things. And
Yeah.
it's sometimes it's a challenge to tie all that together and to understand that for everyone in the team to be on the same page with what we're trying to do and what we're trying to say with certain things. And one of the things that we've decided, and it's been difficult over the last year, it was really important, was to get everyone together at least once a week. So we have sales staff who are field based, and actually they could very feasibly go, especially during lockdown, weeks if not months without seeing or speaking to people who are in the production team and actually brewing the beer. And sometimes that's fine, but actually we feel like there's a merit in everyone being together in the same room once a week on a Tuesday where we can sit down, and it gives an opportunity for us to explain where we are as a business, them to understand what we're going.
Feedback from the
Absolutely,
that they're
yeah.
talking to.
It's that one time a week where everyone's in the room together, and we make sure that we have someone take minutes for the meeting and send them out to everyone afterwards, so everyone can review them. And it's just an opportunity for everyone to kind of voice their opinions, understand what we're doing. Like I say, what we have an opportunity to explain, like, why we're doing things a certain way if we've made certain decisions. I think that is one of the main things that we've put in place that really helps with that. Obviously, in this day and age, everyone's got their phone in their hand, and we've got WhatsApp groups and email and everything. But sometimes there's no substitute for getting everyone in the building and actually sitting down and talking.
Yeah, because it's tricky. I've recently done a lot of reading, maybe over the last year or two, and a lot of them are business books and things like that. So I've been learning about all these different business structures that I'm trying to put in place. We're only hiring a handful of people here and there, but I can just see that you have to get it right with your first few hires, and then it just expands naturally. But are there any kind of structures that you're putting in place from reading, or anything that you're borrowing from other businesses or past businesses?
Prior to starting the business, I was studying an MBA in business management, and there's certain things that relate to styles of management in certain industries. And actually, we're quite blessed in the industry we work in, because it's very creative focused, and we like to promote to the staff, to anyone that works with us, that we just always want ideas, and we'll be very clear. And if there's an idea that we're just not going to go with for whatever reason, we'll be very clear. Go, okay, that's not something we're going to do. But we always want more ideas, because, as I said at the start, we made 60 beers in our first year, and we plan on making loads of different beers because we really enjoy doing that. And sometimes it's something as silly as that, where we've got a beer that we've made and we're sort of banging our heads against the wall, trying to think, well, what we're going to call this beer? What's the concept for it? Sometimes opening that up to the hive mind is just a really good way of getting a good idea out of people and going, that's fantastic. And then suddenly that might morph into a different idea that we can use. And I just think, in terms of managing the team as a whole, we really like to promote people to be confident to speak up and share their ideas, because, like I say, sometimes that can be a real challenge for us, and having 10 full-time members of staff to draw on gives us that group of people who we can rely on to kind of chip in and help out with those things.
Yeah. It also just probably makes you accountable, so you don't go off on one in a really weird direction, and they can say, hopefully they can go to you and say, this is something that I don't like that's happening, and they'll actually be able to approach you, instead of having their manager and the manager's manager.
You're right, yeah, and that's the benefit of a small company, is that we don't have those layers of middle management where things get lost in translation, or people feel like they can't approach other people we're very open to ideas, very open to feedback, and very open to working with everyone. As I said, that's why we hire people, because they're good at what they do.
Okay, so you hire on like the skills first, like in the production department. Do you hire them because they've got loads of experience in the brewing industry, or do you just
It's a
train them
mix,
up?
really. Sometimes it's culture.
When we started, we went
Yeah,
experienced,
and
didn't we?
go on, Dane.
Yeah, when we. Yeah, so when we started, it was very much because it was just us two and then the taproom manager. We were looking for experience because we knew kind of like the direction we wanted to go, and we wanted to grow and we wanted to push on, and we knew that experience was really going to come in handy.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now, we're in a place where we can look at taking someone who may be a bit more of a project and they require a bit more training, but actually, in the long run, we will see the benefits, and hopefully the employee will see the benefits as well. So it's definitely a blend now, but at the start we definitely did go on the side of more experience, because we were being so small but trying to push out wide. We were being pushed, from pillar to post,
Yeah.
and we just wanted employees that we could rely on, and that experience was so handy, when it came to the production and other sides of it as well.
And then when you can breathe, then you can do the training. Yeah, because it's like you've got to deal with the day to day initially, which is the hardest part. I think you guys have done like a rapid growth cycle, and I'm kind of like a lot slower in our print studio. But yeah, it's interesting to see which way round you did that, because you probably put quite a lot of the money into those. Well, you do. You just have to pay for that experience, don't you, up front, and then later on do the training as you want them to be, like your ideal employee. You can train them up in your processes.
And sometimes the ideal employee doesn't have that experience, and that we're very clear on that when people apply to work for us, sometimes in certain positions we may say it's desirable to have prior experience in the industry, but by no means does it rule people out, because sometimes someone comes in and they've just got such an appetite to come in and work in this industry because people are so passionate about beer. And sometimes you speak to people and that just comes through,
Yeah.
and you can just see how how much it means to them to work in beer and to come and work for a brewery like ours. It's really infectious, and actually it gives everyone a little boost when those people come on board. And sometimes the training can follow, and you've got to take that as something that you hire these people, and sometimes they are more of a project, but it really pays off because you can't replace
Because some people just don't have hand-eye coordination and things that you assume everyone's got. Oh, yeah, I know it's a struggle. That was very diplomatically put, Tom. I like that. Yeah, have people like properly messed up a whole batch just because of something crazy? Is that something you can do, just by not just erratically destroying it, and you can't get your head around how they just did that? Is that something that they can do?
There is some stuff that can happen, yeah, that would take a great batch of beer and just make it go down the drain.
Yeah.
Like, because we have some experience and we have procedures in place. Luckily, that is few and far between. It's very rare in a brewery because of the health and safety aspects and all the other stuff. Normally, everyone's really like kind of honed in when you're actually doing something to the beer. So it's very rare that something would happen because of something crazy happening, but it can. So that's the kind of, especially on the production side, that's where it comes down to your training and making sure everyone's on the same wavelength. Communication. Me and Dom have, in my opinion, great communication. We talk hours every single day, not necessarily about the business, just about our interests, hobbies, everything like that, because we're best friends, and we try and push that on our employees more. We try and push them to communicate more, because at the end of the day, then if we're all on the same page, we stop the things happening that we could actually catch. We have the ability for the employees that need a bit more confidence or need that extra hand. It makes it easier for us to know they need that, because that communication's already there, rather than us having to try and kind of like assume or guess what everyone kind of wants or needs.
I think you saying earlier, like just tracking a little bit to like you didn't think Reading Festival would be interested in a small brewery like yours. I think that's going to like flip really soon. I think they're going to be like begging for you to be on the taps and have local beer on the taps. Because I think that's what people are going to be shouting for when they visit things like festivals and stuff. They don't want bloody Fosters anymore.
Would be nice.
They want like, oh my, yeah. Oh, it's really cool. I'm glad you're doing.
Well, other festivals are actually. Yeah, other festivals have gone in that direction. Down in Portsmouth, Victoria's Festival, they have your kind of like mainstream macro beer tent just because they've got to cater for the masses, but they also then have a local beer tent, which goes from the local beers in Portsmouth and stuff like that. So I do agree. I do think eventually it will get there because the market is growing. People are drinking less of your standard supermarket beers, and beer drinking is going down, but craft beer is going up.
Yeah, exactly.
Drinking. So I do think there is a chance it might go that direction, but I think we're a bit far off yet.
I don't know.
Hopefully soon though.
I think it's inevitable. We're going to be drinking Phantoms at Reading Festival. I don't really want to go to Reading Festival. I might like
Yeah.
just stay person at the back and dip in and out. I'm not ready to ever camp there again. But yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'll thanks for coming on, and I'll edit this up and I'll send off some little